Thank you very much, Briar, and welcome everyone to the TAC meeting once again, Tourism Advisory Committee meeting. It's been a long time, and I have shaved a couple times over that period, but stepping too close to the razor doesn't happen too often for me these days. So I just wanted to take a chance at the beginning of this meeting to kind of lay out, first of all, welcome everyone, and I'll do that in just a moment here, and just lay out the agenda really quickly, and then I'll hand it over to Briar once again. For those of you that maybe don't recognize me, don't remember me from a while ago, my name is Russell Press, and I'm very fortunate to hold the position of Director for Economic Development and Tourism in the County of Brant. And I can let you know that I definitely wish that we've been able to get together sooner and more frequently. The times that we've been going through collectively, all of us just didn't allow it. And for reasons that clerks can explain in terms of, being able to provide access to the public, for not getting together and what have you, from our position, from the divisional position, we have been extremely busy in the world of tourism, in the sector of tourism. It has not been a period of time where things have lain dormant. In fact, we've had to, and I'm going to say it, sorry, we have had to pivot, more than happens at an NBA game, I think. We have had to pivot a number of times, and we'll get into that. I'm sure we'll get into the presentation. I do want to thank, of course, members of council, Mayor Bailey, Councillor Howes, for joining us again today, and all of the members of the committee that were able to join us right up till yesterday evening. Of course, we're still dealing with the pandemic and pivoting once again from changing this to a virtual meeting from an in-person meeting so that we could attain quorum. So it is something that we're dealing with, and it's ongoing for us. And it is something that we'll talk about today in our presentation. And I also want to acknowledge members of our team. We normally would not have this many members of staff at a single meeting. But I wanted to introduce you to some members that had just started a month or so before the pandemic hit, that you may not have had a chance to meet. There's also a member of the team that joined during the pandemic and is going to be they're all integral to what we want to do with tourism and moving forward, what we need to do. So with that, just want to say welcome, and we can't wait to get to the heart of the matter, the meat of the matter here. And we've got a couple of presentations from the staff side that we'll get to in just a bit to explain where the state of tourism is kind of globally, nationally, provincially, and of course locally. What the 9 or 10 initiatives that are ongoing that we're engaged in as staff right now in the sector involve, and then looking forward in an immediate, mid-range, and long-term, where we feel it might be food for thought to involve TAC and to ask for tax support or help in navigating some of the things that we have to do in that immediate, mid, and long-range agenda. So with that, Briar, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Russ. So attendance has been taken. And before we begin, I just want to recognize that because this meeting is being held electronically, there is no mechanism for a secret ballot. So any votes will be held by the raising of hands in open session. And if there is a tie, the selection will be done by lot. So with that said, do I have any nominations for chair? Councillor Howes?
Thank you. I would nominate Edith to continue as chair.
Okay. Edith, do you accept the nomination? Where did Edith go?
We lost Edith.
Well, she's gone. Let's vote.
I'm going to send her a quick email. I'm sure she's trying to join back. Okay. Okay, so let's pivot. We're gonna look for nominations for vice chair, just while we wait for Edith to rejoin. So do I have any nominations for the role of vice chair? Any, oh, here's Edith. Hi, Edith, are you there?
Briar, perhaps I could ask Brandon if he might be able to try and call Edith on the phone, and we can sort that out. If you wanted to continue on as you were with the vice chair, that would be fine. If it's if we're still challenged with that, we can continue on with our, if you like, if it's in accordance, we
Okay,
can continue
let's
on with
do
our
that.
presentation.
I didn't hear any nominations for the role of vice chair at this point. So I think while everyone's still trying to connect, let's move on to your next portion, Russ, and then we'll go back to the election at the end, if that's okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Appreciative of everyone's time. And that being the case, if you do have the agenda in front of you, it would be the staff report. So we'll move to section 9. Briar and Brandon, if you're online, if you might be able to help Briar with that, that would be great. If we can put the staff report, current state of tourism. We have 3 decks, and I'm going to be helped with various members of our team through this. And if we can get the decks on the screen, the current state of tourism on the screen, that would be great. So, is everyone okay? Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. So we're going to take a look at the state of tourism globally, and then we're going to define it, narrow it down in a funnel, so to speak, to get to where we are locally. So we'll start globally, go nationally, provincially, and then locally, of course. And we'll start with the state of tourism globally. If that slide can be put up, that'd be great. So we've gotten this information from the United Nations World Tourism Organization. So that's where we've pulled this from. And one of the first things that is indicated, of course, is the unfortunate situation that's happening in Ukraine right now. And on top of everything that's happened over the last couple of years, this is causing further disruption to international tourism, and certainly for outbound tourism from nations that accounts for 3% of the global spending on in the sector. So the sector globally is affected pretty immensely. The international tourism arrivals, although they're climbing, they're still down close to 70% compared to 2019 or pre-COVID levels. So that's very significant. Last year, Europe and the Americas recorded one of the strongest results, increasing 19 and 17% respectively compared to 2020. Not that large of a of a surprise, really, given what 2020 looked like, but it was rebounding and is rebounding, but it is still a very volatile and fluid situation globally. In 2024 or later, at least it's going to take to 2024. That's how we're reading this slide. Experts predict that international arrivals will return to near the 2019 levels. So we're still a couple of years away at best to reaching pre-pandemic levels. Excuse me, domestic tourism and travel close to home, as well as open air activities. So these are kind of this is globally some of the major trends, which are close to home, open air activities, nature-based product lines, and rural tourism. These are the major travel trends that continue to shape tourism globally. And as we funnel down, Brandon, to the next slide, nationally, you'll see that those trends hold true. There's high consumer demand as restrictions are lifted, coupled with reduced supply and capacity that are fueling increased travel costs. So it's not as easy, even if the conditions, even if and we would hope that the situation in Ukraine ended and there was a magic pill to take COVID away. There's still the supply chain and the hindrance of availability for travel overseas and large scale travel. So that is fueling that real push to travel local and to stay longer in a particular place once you're there. Early travel will be highly motivated to reconnect with family and friends after an extended time apart. And I'm not asking, but if I were to ask for a show of hands, I'm sure that there would be a few of us. My hand would go up for sure. That when we were able to travel, one of the first things that we did was go and visit relatives, and one of them for me was, of course, my sister. West. So this kind of holds true, and I think we can recognize that. And this will be evident in the short haul and the long haul with domestic travel moving forward. Traveling less often, but staying longer and spending more and digging deeper is at the forefront of traveler minds today. And since the start of the pandemic, the federal government has contributed about $15 billion, to the tourism sector to help reposition Canada as a world-class destination. So Destination Canada, there's a website that you'd be able to find. I think it's destinationcanada.ca, I believe is the website. But if you Googled a Destination Canada, you'd be able to see that. And they're in contact with us probably every other week, letting us know the latest trends and the latest data. And they've done, our team finds anyway, that they've done a good job in keeping us apprised of where things are trending and going to. And this was one that we pulled that we thought might be very much important for us here, is about 83% of Canadian travelers plan on using their personal cars to reach their travel destinations. There's a number of reasons for that. First of all, Canadians are drivers, and it's likely because of the distance that we have to cover and sort of the lack of public transportation in long travel, as well. The reduction of supply for travel and the rising demand makes it that much more expensive. So even with the rising costs of fuel for combustion, fuel burning vehicles, right now it is still predicted to be heavily a mode of transportation using your own vehicle to get to your destinations moving forward. And we find that here in the county as well. So Brandon, if you can move forward to the province. Here we are, good. As we scale down a little bit closer to home, a couple of the things that the province has done, one of them was the Ontario Staycation tax credit to encourage Ontario residents to travel domestically. And it's a 20% claim on accommodation expenses. It translates to savings of somewhere between 200 and 400. For Ontarians, 84% of Ontarians feel safe traveling within Ontario, while almost 80% of Ontarians would welcome visitors from other parts of Ontario. And that's pretty significant. It's still 20%, 23% indicate that they don't feel entirely safe with travelers coming from outside Ontario, and that actually spikes a little higher when it's outside of Canada. So there's still that need to feel safe where you're traveling to and in your own community when others are traveling to it. So that's very, very important. We'll drill down on that a little bit further as well. In January of this year, compared to January of last year, there was a 108% increase in border crossings from the United States. Now that shouldn't be a big shocker because the border was pretty much closed, and it's since reopened, with a 79% increase from overseas. The highest number of visitors that are coming to Canada at this point are from the United Kingdom. Millennial and Generation X travelers will dominate the North American landscape for the coming years. And for some of you, we've been using these terms, Millennial and Generation X, for quite some time. And I wanted to take a look and make sure that I still understood exactly what those age groups are. And if we're still talking about millennials and thinking, that they're teenagers, they're not. Millennials are anywhere from 25 to 40. And Generation X, 41 to 56. So there's a significant number of that age range that are dominating the North American landscape, and they're going to be dominating the North American landscape for travelers. So long-term planning needs to figure this reality into the planning that we're going to be doing moving forward on the long term. Digital video and multimedia continues to be a source of travel inspiration for travelers coming to Ontario. And in fact, if you look at the data, it's really the phone, your handheld personal device, then your iPad, and then your laptop, your desktop. Following that really is where people are getting their information by and large. They're looking up great places to eat in Burford, great things to do in St. George. Very rarely are they going to a particular hard paper collateral piece for a municipal destination. But it's still important to have those available, and we're going to identify the ones that we've been putting out the last couple of years and identify why we've been putting them out. But you'll see the migration of that information and that content going more and more to the digital hand, because that's where people are getting their information. Thank you, Brandon. Moving forward, large events are beginning to return to their in-person format. So we're looking at the County of Brant and the state of tourism locally right now. And this is pretty much up to date as of this morning. I think, I'm not sure, I believe Danny Toda is on the line here. She's our special events and filming coordinator. And I think this morning, or was it late yesterday, we got a couple of more applications for new events. And I think the number now is, and she'll run through it in her part of the presentation, but I think the number now is up to 15, 16, getting close to 20 applications for events that we're dealing with right now. So they're coming back full scale, and it is something that does require a lot of our resources right now, and we are looking to make some enhancements moving forward. The County of Brant has received a lot of interest from group tour companies to visit when safe, and this is an important one. And Donna Clement, our tourism coordinator, is going to speak to this a little bit more extensively in just a minute. But it is very important for us. Of course, our one of our main pillars is safe visitation, and group tours. You would think by putting the word group in there, it gives a little bit of a pause for thought around safety, but actually the group tour business is extremely well versed and prepared for safe group visitation. So this actually plays well into the mechanics of our strategy moving forward. A number of meetings and conventions have chosen Brand as the host community, and this includes the OSM conference, which is the Small Urban Municipality Conference. They'll be coming in 2023, and the 2022 Ag Forum, which we've been able to announce. The Ontario Agricultural Forum is going to be hosted here in the county later this year. Sporting events are returning to Brant, as you know, with legacy tournaments operating, so the Gretzky tournaments and what have you. So they're returning. Baseball, soccer, all of the organized sports, as well as some of our fields. Our disc golf facility on Green Lane, of course, is extremely popular, and people are looking to take advantage of that as well. County of Brant has become a premier destination for outdoor adventure with visitors. So this isn't anything that we didn't already know, but it is something that we definitely had to manage over the last couple of years, and will continue to need our attention and management capabilities moving forward, for sure, to make sure that it's done in a way that's compatible with the community, as well as with the actual resource itself. So That's the state of tourism. Currently, if we can pop that one off, Brandon, that would be great. So that's a look around the world, and then we narrow it down a little bit further. If it's all right with you, we're going to get the next one ready to go, which is the current divisional projects. I just want to check with Briar and make sure, Briar, you're still running the meeting at the moment in the absence of a formal chair. Are you okay if we continue on, or did you want to?
Yeah, actually, I do see that we have the stones here. Edith, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so actually, sorry.
I'm sorry, I got booted out and it took like 10 tries to get back in. I don't know what happened.
No problem. So we were actually just after prior to Russ's presentation, we were doing the election of chair and vice chair. You were nominated by Councillor House for the role of chair. Do you accept the nomination?
Yes, I do.
Okay, awesome.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. It just went black and it kept saying call failed, call failed.
No, that's okay. Okay, so we'll just get through the election really quick, and then we'll continue with your portion, Russ. Do I have any other nominations for the role of chair? Seeing none, Edith, you are now the chair for the Tourism Committee. So moving on, I'm looking for nominations for the role of vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
I'd like to nominate L.A. Hayes again, please.
Do you accept? I don't think she's here.
L.A., it's a he.
Ella, I'm not sure who that is.
He was our vice chair. I don't know if he's on today. I can't see. My own screen will only show me 2 or 3 people at a time. Sorry.
I don't think LA is participating today.
Okay.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay. So not hearing any. Just trying to think here. Okay, Edith, are you comfortable? I'm just trying to think here. Edith, are you comfortable in the interim just being the vice chair for this meeting, and then at our next meeting we'll try. Yeah, we'll try again.
That's fine. Okay,
let's do that. Okay. So with all that, I'm going to call for a motion to close the nomination. So can I please have a mover for that? Mayor Bailey, and the seconder, Councillor House. Okay, so Edith, you are the chair for the Tourism Advisory Committee meeting, and I'm going to pass it back over to Russ to continue with his next agenda item.
Thank you for that, by the way, Steve.
Thank you. Madam Chair, are you okay that I continue on with?
Hey, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Just before, Brandon, if you would get ready to bring up the current divisional projects and the rest of the team be ready to speak to your parts, I'll cue you. But I just wanted to open it up to the floor if there were questions. And I'm limited to one screen, so perhaps, Briar, if you identify someone who has a question, if you could let me know. Does anyone have any questions regarding the presentation from the current state, globally, nationally, provincially, and locally? No? Okay.
Oh, there is one. Sorry, I see Joan Foe's hand.
Oh. Hi, Joan.
Hi, Russ. I'm just wondering, so has the county been able to take advantage of the financial programs from federal, provincial? Is that something that's been of use?
Yes, thank you. And that's a good question, Joan. I can let you know for sure. Donna, you might be ready I might ask you to be ready with the exact figure, but I think it was in the first round of the recovery fund, we were successful in getting either somewhere around $115,000, I believe, for a number of projects. And a number of those projects, that was really in the height of the pandemic, when everything was really shut down, and we kind of thought that we were about to reopen, if you remember that, and we were readying ourselves to reopen, and following on that, a number of initiatives took place there, including the guides that we're going to get to here in just a moment. Donna will speak to those. We were able to produce, I believe it was 5 guides with some of that funding. We were able to put together a Google map. We did a Google map project. We had our social media and all of our digital assets kind of realigned through a business that took everything and made sure that our search functions and our keyword and everything were really right up to where they needed to be, so that people could get the information they needed immediately. We also used a portion of the funds to get some of the RSVP, the responsible safe visitation is our priority, and Brand signage and components together to launch those. Donna, if I can, Madam Chair, I'd call on Tourism Coordinator Donna Clements to round out my answer if I've missed anything. Donna?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Donna.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited to at least hear some of the voices on there. I know that we can't see each other in person yet, but yes, in 2021, we received just over $111,000. We produced 5 guides, 3 videos, a new photo library. We did a shopping contest that was primarily centered around Love Local Brands. We did the new Google Map app that Russ just spoke of. And we tried to get out to all of our partners and include all of our partners across all sectors in ensuring that they were included in the packages and programs that we were doing. We did videos for culinary, for shopping, for our destination guides. So basically each one of our guides, we created or had a video created around them to show what there is to see and do digitally. And then we created a large amount of our socials aspect with selfie photos and our videos and our new photo library, ensuring that we were showing everyone all the things that there was to see and do locally so that people could get out and do things safely.
Good.
Thanks, Donna. Yeah, so Joan, again, thank you for the question. It was a good question. It was a considerable amount of money, and it did help. I believe it was about 8 different projects that benefited from that as well, and all geared to providing either relief or leveraging the ability for us to be able to help the local operators and businesses that are in the tourism sector get through the pandemic and get to a position to relaunch, so to speak. Are there any others? Oh, sorry. Madam Chair.
Just look at see if anybody else has their hand up. It's okay. All right.
I have a question.
Is that Jim Harder? I'm not sure.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Was any of this money used for improvements to accessibility? Because we look around town and I'm not sure what's happening with more accessibility.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you to Member Harden. Now, the funding, the requirements for funding on this particular fund were not didn't accommodate for accessibility components. That said, there are a number of plans moving forward and potential funding opportunities that we're working on now that we do want to take a look at in working with our accessibility division here in the county to be able to look at some additional things that we could do to assist in the sort of the most traveled and the most visited destinations and what we can do to assist in that area for sure moving forward. That is one of the areas of management that we need to take a look at.
Thanks.
Anybody else have a question? No? Okay.
Then, thank you, Madam Chair. Then we'll continue into the next presentation, which is current divisional projects. So what we're trying to do for the committee here is kind of catch everyone up on, not really go through everything that happened and relive, the last 24 plus months, but to just give you a state of tourism around the world and then funnel it down to where we are now. And where we are now, what we're doing internally and from a staff standpoint. And then we want to move and take a look at what we would be working on the short, medium, and long range. So I'm hoping that you understand what it is I'm trying to do, and hope that it is making sense. That we're giving kind of a wholesome picture of where the sector is and what needs to be done yet. So in that regard, Madam Chair, we're going to continue on with the current divisional projects. And Brandon, if you can flip screen, that would be great. The first slide that we're going to take a look at, I'm not sure if you can see that. I don't see it.
I don't see it either. It's black.
There we are. Okay. So what we're looking at right now is really distilled picture of what was a key component, is a key component, and as the data and trends that I provided from every arena in looking at the sector, whether you're global, national, provincial, or on a municipal level, safety is primary. People want obvious reasons, want to be safe, want to feel safe, want to know what the safe options are with everything, not just travel, but for sure in the sector of tourism. So what you're looking at now is kind of a synopsis of the plan that we came up with and developed in-house, and it's known as RSVP, obviously taking a little bit of a liberty with words and with acronyms and what have you, with RSVP being a tourism and a reservation piece, but the actual letters stand for responsible, safe visitation is our priority. And so distilled down, it's the RSVP, so our responsible, safe visitation plan. And what it is prior to COVID and the pandemic hitting, we were very much the role of a DMO, and that's what we are, a destination marketing organization, was to market the destination. So we were very, very much involved with getting the word out, and how it's been explained in a number of seminars and courses and what have you that I've attended or had the pleasure to speak at. Our role was like sticking a fork in the road, making sure everybody knew that there was a fork in the road, and then doing what we could to get them to take the path that brought them to our destination, but making sure that they knew that we were an available option for their menu of doing things. When COVID hit, obviously the requirement for safe and responsible visitation was magnified. Of course, a responsible visitation is something that we would always strive for. And safe visitation was kind of a given, but not much thought into it until the air we breathe became something that we were concerned about, of course, as evident through the pandemic. So now it was a move, and it continues to be a move, not giving up or not foregoing the marketing, but it's the management and marketing, making sure that a destination is properly managed to be safe, to be accessible, to be community minded, and then marketing that. So it's kind of the addition, the recognition, and the engagement, active, full engagement of the management piece, and then layering the marketing over top of it. So what we did was develop the responsible and safe part of it. So for an example, there is an international recognition that we're working with pretty heavily, and we'll be working to get out to as many of our destinations that want to take advantage of it as they can. It's the Safe Stamp certification. It's internationally recognized, and you get a kind of an icon that can be used on any of your marketing. But as soon as someone sees that, it's very much like a stamp of approval that they've met the required requirements of getting that safe stamp certification. Advancing that a little bit further, the community-centric piece is, oh, no, sorry, if you can back up just again. Community-centric piece is approaching visitation from the position of a Brant resident. So, looking at some minimum asset qualifications to be promoted and to be moved along to either the safe stamp recognition or another industry recognition, such as, parking required. Is there available parking? Is there waste receptacles? How far are the washrooms? Looking at those things as part of our overall management of the sector. And then the last piece, we would move that into high yield. So creating demand, explaining marketing demand, and valuing with value development through curation. So looking at our operations and looking at our operators and destinations, and how can we, and we've spoken about this at length in previous years as well, but it's really come to light through the pandemic, is how can we produce a high yield experience and menu of options for visitors that come to the county of Brant. By high yield, we're less impact, less footprint, and more spend, so they can stay longer and spend a little more, get a little bit more engaged. Maybe they don't just come to shop; they come to shop, eat, and buy their groceries. How do we adjust that? How do we manage that and market it properly? So that's the sort of the progression that we're looking at in the RSVP. Okay, Brandon. Again, and by all means, the website, brant.ca/RSVP. You can take a look at that, and some of the tools are on there. Again, the phase one, the immediate impact, you would have saw some of the signage throughout the county of Brant, and some of it is still there, and it is checked. I understand it can be tough, especially when in the wintertime with snowbanks and what have you. So we've moved and gotten rid of some signage, and we will be phasing that out appropriately. We'll be phasing some other signage, perhaps certainly less quality or less quantity, but of important quality. As the message shifts from sort of that immediate need to the, are you planning your stay? We would welcome you. We'd like you to stay a little longer type of messaging, but we'll be phasing that out. But the RSVP in phase one was that immediate. We needed to make sure that people knew, how to be safe in the county of Brant, what was expected to be safe in the county of Brant. So that signage was deployed in really short order. Phase two, the mid-range, we're kind of there now, is reviewing with each tourism subsector. So that could be culinary, that could be farmers markets, that could be Garth's on the line here. So that could be outdoor adventure. Talking with those subsectors within the tourism industry and making sure that we can do what's needed to provide that safe readiness for all involved. And then phase three is the ongoing sustainable sector development. How do we make sure that we do that transition from just a marketing destination to a management marketing destination effectively? Brandon? So this is these are the guides, and Madam Chair, if I can, if it's all right with you, as I go through this presentation, the remainder of this presentation, I'll be calling on members of the team to speak to the particular sections that speak to what they're working on. This would be the first one. So, Madam Chair, if I can just get approval to be able to do that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, you can.
Donna, if you wouldn't mind, nice and concise and tight, just explaining what's going on with this slide and the guides involved.
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you. I would love to talk to you about where we're going with this. So as we said earlier, we did receive funding last year through the federal government, and it was $111,000. And these are some of the guides that we created. The first one that was created last year was the culinary deliciousness, so our dining guide. We had 78 partners. There were 15,000 copies produced. It's a 4-color magazine style format. It is distributed out to partners that have advertised in it, or not advertised, but have their product in it. There was no cost to any of our partners to be part of any one of these programs. We worked with a photographer as part of our contract to get new photos and update our digital and photo library for each of these pieces. We also did a shopping guide, and with the sensational shopping guide at that time, if you remember, there were so many things that were going back and forth. We have 131 partners in the guide. All of these guides are online. Nothing was charged to any partners. We pushed the online shopping through our socials when it was safe to do so. When things changed again, we pushed more of our in-store shopping. But it's interesting to know that over half of the partners that are in the shopping guide transverse to online shopping. So we had an icon, a legend in each of the guides that showed whether they offered in-store shopping only or online shopping. With the culinary, we had a legend that talked about whether they did takeout or dine in, or if you could order online, so that people knew when they looked at these guides what they could see and do at a glance. And again, 15,000 copies of these were produced. The next one that was produced was our destination guide. So basically, it took a combination of all of the products. And in the destination guide, we had 111 partners. We posted our most Instagrammable spots, and we have 28 exceptional experiences. And the thoughts behind this guide, again, was to try and get people to do things safely and at the time local. So we were really pushing for things to see and do throughout our communities. Each of these guides are set up showing the map at the beginning and identifying each of the areas within the county of Brant. The destination guide was set up a little bit differently, as it had unique types of categories such as Agra Awesome, just playing in the backyard, Staycation, Rest, Relax, and Repeat, Spas and Beauty, Vintage Shopping, Celebrate Our History, Outdoors, Big Roars and Fours, and Sips and Treats. So we tried to give people ideas on things that they could see and do locally and safely throughout the last couple of years. The last guide that we finished was Fresh from the Farm guide, which this one was an exciting new guide. We have 35 of the 48 farms that we contacted within the county of Brant that participated in this. Some of the reasons for people not participating, maybe the farms didn't understand totally what it was, and they were so busy and couldn't take on anything else, or they didn't want to advertise at this time and things were changing within their farm. We have 14 farms within this guide. Again, there's a legend inside each of these pieces, and 14 of our farms offer tours, which is very unique, and those were included in some of our destination exceptional experiences. So we're really trying to get people to think from farm to table and get out and visit the farm and do things within the county. The last one that is gone to print now is a revamp of our first edition of the group tour guide. You can see it in the top. It's got a couple antiquing on the front cover. We changed this guide quite a bit. It includes 63 different partners within the guide that are motor coach or can handle a group. And a group can be anywhere right now from 15 to 50 plus passengers. The motor coach group, or the motor coach industry, was hit very, very hard and totally stopped for the entire 2 years and are just starting to get back online. They do have smaller groups right now. We are getting requests for bookings and visits in the fall with day trips, and many of the coach operators are staying local, making sure that they just do day trips so that they're ensuring safety as much as possible right now. in this booklet, we have 30 different packages. We have 11 student packages. And at the end of the guide, we created a section for international packages. So going after what Russ was speaking about a little bit earlier with the high yield businesses or high yield traffic, and bringing small groups out to do some of the things that are of interest to the international and the student market within the County of Brant. These guides are promoted on our socials constantly and have been over the last 2 years. In almost all the guides, we printed 15,000 copies. With the farm guide, because it was at the end of the season, we printed 5,000 copies. We can't keep these in stock every time we send them out to partners, or they're all distributed to our county-owned facilities and rec centers and things like that. We're constantly replenishing their quantities, and anytime there's a new business added or a change to a business, we've been pushing that information to our communications team, who makes a change almost immediately or within 48 hours online. So our online versions are as up to date as possible, and then when we go to reprint, we will have all this information in there for going to print the next time. The last guide was done in partnership with the Paris Chamber. It's a directory of business and services. So if something wasn't included in any other guide, it was definitely captured in this guide, and it is basically more of a directory to help businesses communicate and work together. So that's really where all the guides have happened, and they've been quite popular. And I've even had suggestions from partners that are in the guide saying, Donna, you need to have a thing at the back of the book, because once I received this guide, I wanted to go out and try out all the restaurants. So you need to have sort of like a bucket list at the back of the book so we can tick off what we've done. So that's kind of a cool idea for the future of these guides. Thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Donna. And moving forward, Brandon. So the slides, staying with the guides quickly. So this was a big chunk. It's, you know, you put out a visitation guide or a destination guide once every year, maybe once every other year, some municipalities once every third year. We, again, because of COVID required it, and then we were provided the funding to be able to pull these together, to be able to put 6 together, and 5 were done. The first 4 you can see were completely produced by the County of Brant. And then we produced the other one with the Business and Services Directory in partnership with the Paris and District Chamber of Commerce, and the group tours is about to be launched digitally any day now. So big piece, and all of this information, Donna did a great job in explaining how all of this information is available digitally. That is what the data is showing. That is clearly where people are getting their information. So we are kind of doing the best of both worlds right now. But right now, a lot of the work behind the scenes is to make sure that everything is up to date and captured digitally, because that's where people go for their information day in, day out. And then when it comes time to print these guides again, it'll be less onerous. Everything will be up to date, and we'll be able to do it a little bit more efficiently, and keeping, of course, resources in mind. That's exactly what we want to do, is be able to do it efficiently and cost effectively. Brandon, can you move forward? I'm going to move along here. Right, Brant Farms for All. So this is this next piece is important, and Zach Gable worked with Donna. Zach Gable is our Senior Economic Development Officer. He's doing a lot of work in the agri sector of Brant, and I don't have to tell anyone on this call how important, of course, agriculture is to the County of Brant, both in our founding, in our current production, and for sure moving forward. We are an agri community and very proud of it. And it is something I hope that there's members, and I know Chairwoman Stone, you for sure will remember, because you've been with TAC pretty much from the beginning as well. This was something that we really wanted to do a long time ago, was to put together kind of a farm tour guide piece. And this was a funding piece. Back to Joan's question about funding. This was actually partially funded through, I believe it was RED funding, the Rural Economic Development Fund helped us with a portion of the Brant Farms for All product that we have here. And there's really 4 segments to the Brant Farms for All initiative. There's the on-farm diversified use component, agriculture labor development, how we can help bridge that gap. And there's a certain, for sure, gap that is very challenging for agri producers right now. There's, of course, the Rural Water Quality Program, a little lesser known program in the County of Brant, but it's a very successful program. I think we're a substantial amount of money is providing a lot of uptake in the rural water quality program. So we're going to be doing a little bit more highlighting of that. But of course, to this group, there's the agritourism component, and the Brant Farms for All agritourism piece it's a marketing piece, and it had a couple of different components. Of course, being included in the guide was one of those components, the farm market guide. And in addition to that, if the producer wanted to as well, they could take advantage. We had signs produced. And they kind of look like the same style of signs, for sale signs that you put in your front yard with the post and the sign hanging off of it at a 90-degree angle, and very lightweight, and they can be moved and what have you. But it connected anyone that was looking digitally or looking at the farm market guide and wanted to go to the farm and make a purchase and participate in anything that they were offering and advertising. It was an easy identifier, as well as a pride of community in bringing all the farms together to show that we are very proud of our agri roots and our agritourism opportunities. So this is one that is just gotten underway at the end of last year, and we're really looking forward to seeing it expand and really take hold this year. So very, very excited about this one. Moving forward, Brandon, please.
Thank you for that, Russ. It is an important segment of this community, so thank you for that.
Absolutely. Now, moving into arts, culture, and heritage products, I'm very excited to be able to introduce to this committee a member of our team that joined, and it is again in large part owing to discussions and ideas over the years from the Tourism Advisory Committee. I know Joan had invested in a number of people on the line here, and those that couldn't make it today had invested in, and we were very much involved in building the ability to work with culture in the County of Brant and work with the arts and heritage segments and sectors in the County of Brant. And part of that was staffing, having someone available, but having the skill sets. And we were able to go out and actually acquire someone with both experience and the skill sets. And very, very pleased to introduce Kayla Cheechman, who is our Arts, Culture, and Heritage Officer. And Kayla, would you mind making yourself known to the group and running through the slide?
Yes, thank you, Russ. It's nice to meet everyone. This is a great opportunity to come together. So thank you for having me, and thanks for that introduction, Russ. And hello to everyone that I have met in the past. It's nice to see you again, and looking forward to working with everyone. So I just wanted to give a quick little introduction to the work that I've been working on from the arts, culture, heritage side of things. There's been lots going on, lots of changes, things opening back up again and getting started again. I'll also touch on some events with Danny as well. So I just wanted to start by highlighting a little bit of what's going on in the arts culture world. So right now, we're happy that our County of Brant Heritage Committee has resumed meeting. So we'll also be meeting today too, and that's been a great group to get together with again and really focus on that cultural heritage piece of our community. Some things that we've been working on that kind of touch on things that will help with this as well is our heritage inventory project. So that's been completed. This group may have heard of that over the last few years. That's been a big project, and that will really help us have kind of a point where we can evaluate what's going on and better understand those cultural heritage assets across the county and have that mapped out as well. So we've been working a lot with the planning team on that. Another thing that we've been working on is kind of the standardization of procedures. So we're working on forms and kind of helping create a little bit more process around things. So say if we want to have some buildings designated on our provincial registrar, we're having more processes available. So that's nice and simple. So any community member can be part of that as well. The other thing that I'm really excited to work with Russ on that moving forward is our strategic plan that will be coming out soon. So you'll see us out in the community. We're really going to be working on engaging with the community. We'll have a consultant helping us do that project, but I think it will be a really great opportunity to collect a lot of information about what the community needs, what people coming into our community are looking for as far as arts, culture, and heritage, and really learning a lot more about it and bringing it together. So I'm really excited for that. And we really have been out actively engaging with artists in the community and creatives and getting to know everyone. So I've really enjoyed that and been really welcomed into the community. So it's been great. If you want to go to the next slide for me there, Brandon. Wait, so the next thing that I just wanted to introduce everyone to, which is a really exciting project that I've been working on behind the scenes, but it's almost ready to be shared, is our Heart of Brand. So this is our virtual space that really aims to connect the arts, culture, and heritage community and provide information and resources about the sector. So this is really our storytelling piece. And I know Russ had touched on kind of that digital engagement. So we really want to be able to have a spot where people can, if they're visiting our community, pick up their phone and say, oh, I want to learn a little bit more. And we can have stories about, say, the cobblestone buildings or interesting heritage figures from our community. We can put events on there that are happening. We can highlight our artists. We can highlight our creatives, have music on there. And it's really that hub to kind of represent our community well. And it's a piece that we can kind of share with other communities and other groups if they're wanting to learn more about our culture here. But I think it's going to be a really great tool. And I hope that with this group, we can continue to kind of brainstorm and think of some ideas, because it's going to be something that's built together. So if anyone has any ideas or any artists or any groups or events that they really want to highlight, I welcome you to share that with me. And that's something that we can put on here as well. So I think I will pass off to Danny for the next slide, and then I'll come back in a few. Thank you.
Hi everybody, good to see you all again. It's been a while. If I haven't connected with you, it's nice to meet you. Like Kayla and Russ said, and Donna as well. Hopefully we can meet in person soon. But no, I just wanted to touch quickly on special events in the County of Brant. So just to kind of reflect on 2021 and just to kind of give you peace of mind as to where events are going moving into 2022. So a total of 16 events, special event applications were submitted last year. So a special event application is submitted when County of Brant property or assets are being used. So 16 total were submitted last year. Getting into this year, we were off to a slower start in January, February, and even moving into March, just with kind of the uncertainty of the reopening plan. And I think events were a little kind of hesitant to jump in full force. But especially over the last 6 to 8 weeks, we have really seen that increase. So as Russ mentioned, we are getting new applicants daily. So that being said, we are up to 15. So I know we included on the slide that we are at 14. We are currently at 15 special event applications. From there, those are all promoted on our County of Brant special event calendar. And then we do support them as well through social media. And then on top of that, so these would be events that, for example, our Butter Tart Festival, events that take place on privately owned property. We still do support these events. So for example, even the fairgrounds, although they're not required to submit a full special event application, we still do support them through if they require any road restrictions or part of the road being closed to ensure entrance and exits. That can come down to signage potentially, and as well, of course, advertising. So already this year, we do have 20 plus community events that we are going to be promoting their events. Previously, we have done our Good Times in Brant brochure, but with that publication is typically produced in November of the year prior. So again, with COVID and kind of the uncertainty, we really have moved, like Russ and Donna have mentioned, more to the digital promotion, just to ensure that we can capture all the events that are taking place and we're not forgetting any. But also the really great piece with our special events online calendar is it allows event organizers and community groups and organizations to create their own event kind of page, and then it allows them to edit or make changes throughout whether they're promotion or if things change. So it really kind of allows events to promote what they want to be shared and allow those changes to be made, which is really important. Especially previously, I mean, right now it's looking very positive and optimistic for events, but previously, earlier in the year, it was a great tool and it really was used by a lot of events. For example, the Maple Syrup Festival, they were originally, and their plan was to hopefully be in the downtown core as they have been in previous years prior to COVID. But this tool really did allow them to pivot just with the uncertainty of kind of the restrictions that would be available to them in April around group gathering size. And they did move it to an event at the fairgrounds, and we were still able to support them through our online marketing and promotions. Thanks, Kayla.
You can go to the next slide now. Yeah, so a little bit back to me. So Danny and I and our whole team, we really work really closely together. So it's been a great team to come and join on. So one of the other projects that I wanted to highlight, kind of based off the events and what Danny was mentioning, is a new event that we are going to be promoting and putting on through our team. So it's the Love Street Social, and this is something that we've had a lot of asks for. We've seen some other communities do different variations of this, but essentially it's going to be an event that happens throughout the summer, an event series. So our first one will be St. George in June, Paris in July, and Burford in August. And what this will be, it will be kind of in the core of our downtown areas to bring community members, to bring visitors to these areas to support our local businesses. But on top of that, I'll be bringing kind of the cultural side to layer that on with our local creatives, our local musicians. There's been a lot of asking to kind of have these spaces for performances for musicians again. Everyone's really looking forward to getting out this summer. So we thought this would be a safe way, kind of off what Russ was saying as well, to engage with everyone in an outdoor setting, to kind of let the community groups come together, kind of have that infusion into the community again, and really be on the streets and with each other again. So we're really looking forward to that. Right now, we're really at the planning stage for everything, but we do have kind of those dates set out around those other events that Danny was mentioning earlier, because there is quite a lot going on. So we thought these months and the dates that we've suggested would work well. So keep an eye out for that. That's something that will be coming together over the next few weeks, and we'll be able to share a few more details, but I thought I would kind of launch it here so everybody here's a little bit about this new program we're really excited about. So thank you. So if you want to go to the next slide there, Brandon.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Danny. And just very quickly before we go to the Tourism Relief Fund initiative that we're engaged in right now, a lot of information to share on this one. Brandon, I'm going to ask for you to speak to this, and perhaps Donna as well in just a moment. But going back to the Love Local Street Social, this group will remember your participation and your efforts in pulling together the idea of what was being referred to as Brand Celebrate, so a program. And we do want to have Brand Celebrates in the form that we had pre-pandemic discussed, have that up and going as soon as we can in 2023. That is the plan right now. Of course, funding and what have you having to be approved for that. But the idea for this particular program of the three kind of core commercial areas within the county is to really try and help the small businesses in those core areas. Just another injection of excitement and opportunity for the local community and the visiting community to come and support those local businesses and make sure that we give the best chance for full recovery as possible to the core commercial areas of the county. As well, the Brand Celebrates, if you remember, it's a very culturally focused event and required a lot of input and participation from community organization groups. And a lot of that just we weren't able to gather that, we weren't able to meet in person. There's a lot of the community organization groups are just starting to get on their feet. We have these types of things planned, hopefully to help rejuvenate that. They can be a part of the street socials, but to give them an opportunity to get back in an operating before we brought the Brand Celebrates to them and asked for a lot of resources and time and what have you. But the plan is now that we're fully staffed and able to deliver these three, is also to start work in this group, of course, looking for a pickup of that to revert and get back to the Brand Celebrates programming moving forward. So I just wanted to touch on that because I'm sure that was something that might be asked. Speaking now to the Tourism Relief Fund project, this is an application, significant funding opportunity through FedDev Canada, the FedDev round of funding. Our local RTO, our regional tourism organization, Hamilton Halton Brant, the RTO is the deliverer of the funding, if you will, and it's a $5 million fund for our region. And we are very much looking to participate ourselves, but also we're actively engaging our operators, whether they're nonprofit or for-profit operators, to apply. Do what you have to apply. There's a significant amount of money, and they definitely want to use these dollars and these resources to help tourism in our region get back up and running safely and running profitably. So we pulled together, as we're working on all of these initiatives that we're talking about, and now this one, there's a funding application that has to be in by midnight on May 15th. And so our team's working on our funding application, but we're also holding an event tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for any operators, anybody who's got a business or a nonprofit organization that wants to learn more about this funding, to ask questions directly from the region. We have a member from the region, the marketing manager, development manager, Adrian Carter. She's going to be on our call tomorrow, on our Zoom session tomorrow at, I believe, 10 o'clock. Brandon, Donna, I'll ask you to confirm that. Tomorrow morning, answering questions and providing tips and getting that application completed. It's not a terribly laborious application as these applications go, but if you're not used to doing them, they can be a little bit daunting. But it's definitely something that we want to encourage as many applications to get in there from Brant as possible, and whatever help we can provide, we definitely will do everything that we can to get this going. So I'm wondering, Brandon, if you wouldn't mind giving Brandon Webb, who's our research and marketing economic development officer, is on the line. Brandon, would you mind giving kind of an overview of the Tourism Relief Fund? You were the one that attended the seminar.
The Tourism Relief since the RTO3 has had the ability to distribute the can be applied. I believe the minimum is $20,000 and up to $200,000 with the money.
Excuse me, Brandon, you're breaking up. You keep cutting out.
Sorry about that.
I hear nothing now. I apologize.
Oh, no worries. Is this any better for speaking, or am I still a little unclear?
That is better for me. I don't know about the other people participating in this Zoom, but that is better. But before it was like one word and then you'd have nothing. So I hope I'm not the only person experiencing that, but it was better when you just spoke now.
Perfect. So yeah, if there are any other audio issues, feel free to interrupt. But again, with the Tourism Relief Fund, a minimum application of $20,000. Not working again.
No.
It's okay, Brandon. I'll take it over from here and try and fix that when we get to the DMS part. Madam Chair, am I able to be heard? Make sure it's not our building.
I can hear you.
Okay. Donna, are you able to jump on and pick up and just a very high level? We don't need to go too deep into this, but just a very high level piece while Brandon tries to sort his microphone out.
Yep, sure, I can do that. So the Hamilton Halton Brant region received $5 million contribution from the federal government, as we discussed. And the county of Brant, our staff sat down and had a meeting, a brainstorming session to figure out what we could do to apply for the money. We can apply for up to $100,000 and we don't have to match it or pay it back. So we have come up with a campaign to enhance our Brant Blue Canoe program and Love Local Brant program, merge those together basically and enhance it into an app, which would include all of the mapping elements, a QR code, coupons or discounts that were going to be part of the Blue Canoe program, and move it forward. Everything has to be finished or paid for by the end of this year. We can backdate things to April as of last year, but we do have to spend the entire amount by the end of this year. We have also set up with each of our staff a call, like Russ said, with the RTO, and set up an Eventbrite program for tomorrow, and even put samples of the types of things that people could apply for so that we can get as many of our partners on the phone, on the Zoom call, and applying for money to enhance tourism in the county of Brant as possible. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you, Donna. Sorry about that. All right. So Brandon is going to put the link to the actual session that we're holding tomorrow in the Zoom chat, and you're able to link on that. Following this meeting, if you have any questions or you want to participate and you want to get registered and you're not able to do it through the link that Brandon is putting in there, by all means, please just reach out to me and I'll make sure that you get registered for it. Brandon, can we move the screen forward one, please? Great. This is the culinary tourism piece. So I'm going to be calling on Donna here just a moment, but I will let you know that provincially, for obvious reasons, they've really been strongly encouraging and promoting engagement within the culinary subsector of the tourism industry. And with the amazing cachet of restaurants covering every dining level and budget imaginable in the county, we're so blessed to have a culinary menu, if you will, of restaurants that cover everything that you could need. Pretty close. We are definitely looking to be more engaged in this, and Donna has just kind of taken that next step in including the county in the Ontario Eats Passport, which is very much of significance and should really leverage what we have here to offer. Donna, if you can briefly just speak to this program quickly.
Sure. So the Great Taste of Ontario, and the website is below. If you get a chance, please go on and check it out. It received funding when the rest of Ontario received funding last year. And this is a program they came up with. We received a free membership with the Ontario Culinary Association for 2021. But at that time, we were really promoting local and could not immerse into the program completely. So we waited until it was a little bit safer to do so. We have 25 partners that are registered with the Ontario Eats program. They all have to be approved by the Ontario Culinary Association prior to going on the website. And then we're able to put up 3 packages per season. So we have 3 packages in there that are culinary packages. You can go on and download a passport. You can do 3 per season. So we'll be doing 3 more in the summer and 3 more in the fall. We were just part of, and we didn't pay for this, an article in the Toronto Globe and Mail, which has a distribution or readership in the magazine that we were in of 3 million people. And it was the best places to eat and things to do in the county of Brant and Brantford. So you certainly can't pay for that advertising. It really helps us out. And we're going to continue working on our foodie tourism throughout the summer with our new summer student this year. Thanks, Russ.
Oops, sorry, Russ,
Sorry about
you're
that.
muted.
Thank you, Donna. Just rounding this out quickly, I just want to make sure that we're mindful of the time and opportunities for questions. So, Brandon, if you can move this forward to the cycling piece, this is an area that we're very heavily engaged in and through interdepartmental as well with Parks and Facilities. So we work with Ontario by Bike. We just held a seminar. We just co-hosted a seminar with Ontario by Bike with the City of Brantford, who we work closely with in the cycling tourism arena. And here's some bullet points in cycling tourism currently in the county of Brant and throughout the province. Trails for hiking and cycling in 2021 in the county had 180,000 people registered or go through the trails, whether they were hiking or cycling. So we had very busy trails. 11 counters on the county of Brant trails and 3 on the river counted close to 500,000 users. So that's quite a bit, obviously. Over the last couple of years. 37 Ontario by Bike friendly businesses are in our Brantford region, and that is something that we're working very diligently on and will be moving forward. And they have to, again, it's a little bit like that safe stamp certification I was talking about earlier. They have to meet some requirements and then they're able to have that designation. The event that's being held in Hamilton, Brantford, Paris, Port Dover event in September 2022 is fully booked. That's a cycling event that will engage all of those areas. And just a little point of information that's of note, cycle tourists spend more and stay longer per visit. When you look at just kind of the non-cyclist visitor, $404 a trip for cyclists versus $223 on average for non-cycling. So that's one of the reasons that we're engaged in it. We have a number of cycling routes throughout the county of Brant that are all on our website. And if you can flip the screen one more, Brandon, please. Taking a look at our newest and our latest edition. This is in cooperation with both the City of Brantford and the region. This is a premier cycling loop or cycling route for anyone who's traveled through Quebec, through Vermont, upstate New York, even for sure over in Europe. Cycling is very popular, and there are routes for the avid cycler. They don't come in droves, so to speak. You won't see 20 or 30 of them at once. You might see a group of 6, maybe 3 couples, for example, and they'll spend the weekend cycling a 50 to 100 kilometer loop. And there's one in Hamilton, Burlington area called the Hamber Loop. And you may recall a few years ago now, The RTO did come and discuss this, and there was actually a motion made by this group, by the Tourism Advisory Committee, to put our efforts and available existing resources into a cooperative relationship to build a premier loop. And well, it's been done. Here is the Grand River Loop. It'll be signed. There's a couple of areas that just have to be worked out, given construction that's going on in the area and what have you. A couple of things that were brought up by council that we are working through and working out, and then it'll be signed and launched and be used. So this is an exciting piece. This is definitely a high yield product for the county, and one that should show great benefit to businesses and accommodation providers across the county. Okay, if we can move forward, Brandon, please. And then finally, we're into kind of the last market and the last set of initiatives that we're currently working on. And this is Donna's piece. But Donna, I'm just going to go through real quick here, given the time. Conferences and large events. So we are putting in, we are working with the city of Brantford to host the 55 plus games. You will remember that we did win the bid to host the 2021 55 plus winter games. Of course, COVID moved it to 2022, and there wasn't enough time, so those games were canceled. There wasn't enough time to be able to host those, and so we are now working with the city to be able to host the Ontario 55 plus summer games in 2023, in August 2023. And there's some information there, and there'll be a lot more information and opportunity for engagement from this group and volunteer groups and organizations throughout the county as we work towards putting on a fantastic games. We've become quite known for these events, working with the city of Brantford to be able to pull these off. So the province is expecting great things, and we're certainly going to be delivering on those. OSM, the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities, I've already spoken about that. They'll be coming in 2023 and staying in the county of Brant and hosting their event over a couple of days here. And then later this year, I believe it's November this year, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs will be we're working with them to bring the Ontario Agricultural Forum to the county. So those are three big events that are happening and we're preparing for. So things are moving in that market as well. And finally, the last piece here, our student visitor ambassador, Leah, she has started. She started on Monday, and she is our visitor ambassador for 2022, and she'll be located in Wincy Mills here at the kiosk. The kiosk will be fully outfitted, and if you haven't seen it lately, it's got the necessary measures in place to keep Leah as well as everyone interacting at the booth and the kiosk safe. Excuse me. And the tasks that Leah will be involved in this year, of course, include helping us with that Safe Stamp travel accreditation piece, increasing the Ontario by Bike business, working on elements of the Love Local Brant application, and of course, collecting as much data as we can to help us move forward into that next section of what it is we need to be looking at. So those are the initiatives that we're working on now, Madam Chair, through you to the rest of the group. And very quickly want to also highlight one of the initiatives. It's not really a tourism initiative, but certainly does help, it helps the businesses and the destinations that operate, the small businesses, is our Digital Main Street program. It's an economic development program, but Brandon, if you are able to speak, if you wouldn't mind giving a drive-through version of the Digital Main Street for the group, that would be appreciated.
Awesome. Thank you, Russ. Through you, Madam Chair, to committee. First off, is everybody okay with my audio now?
Yes, thank you.
Wonderful. So as mentioned, the Digital Main Street program is a program that was developed by the Ontario Business Improvement Area Association that is meant to allow businesses, small businesses in the county of Brant, the ability to improve their digital presence. To date, 3 Digital Main Street programs have been completed in the county of Brant. allowing 46 businesses to access a $2,500 grant. And this grant money can be used for a variety of different reasons. Anything from, if you want to do videography, photography, improve your digital operations, contract a social media company to run your online marketing, and kind of everything in between there. Right now, we're actively engaged with the OBIAA on the fourth version of the Digital Main Street program. This program will be more enhanced than the programs that have occurred in the past. So look forward to an update on that for sure in the coming days here.
Thank you, Brandon. Okay, Madam Chair, I have a very small last deck, that presentation that speaks to, Brandon, if you can ready it, that speaks to moving forward and where I have identified that we would like to ask for some support and assistance with TAC. And really, I mean, it's of course, Madam Chair, up to yourself and the committee where you feel you might be able to engage participation, but these are just some areas that we thought we would identify as areas that we'll be looking at moving forward, but they'll be very, very quick if that's all right, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Brandon, if you wouldn't mind putting the next deck up, please. There's really three areas. I'll just get started while Brandon puts the deck on screen. There's really three areas, kind of immediate to mid-range to long-term. Give me 1 second. Brandon, are we?
Sorry about that. It's being a little slow this morning, but it's just loading up now and should be up momentarily.
Okay, so thanks, Brandon. The immediate range that we're looking at, that we thought with this group for sure that we could get some discussion perhaps with and some ideas brewing are the approach to the shoulder season. And the shoulder season, so there are less busier times, and we do have a graph. Once we're able to get it up, we'll be able to show you our less busier times. So typically, January we're at the bottom of the graph, so to speak, and it ticks up slightly in February, March, and then kind of really ramps up in May, kind of this time of year, June, July, August, through the summer and into the fall. And it really does kind of depend. Go to the next one, Brandon. The next one. Yeah, that one. It really does pick up. The degree of which it picks up kind of really depends on the weather, to be perfectly honest with you. How fast we get to the, sort of the higher end of our high season really depends on what sort of spring we have in summer. And then it levels off a little bit, and just around the time of the Paris Fair, Apple Fest, again, depending on the weather, we'll see a dip. And if it's a nice fall, if it's a colorful fall, if it's a fall that's conducive to sort of travel, getting out and enjoying all of those great sort of cozy things to do in the autumn, we have such a plethora of and blessed with so many things to do here in the county that are conducive to that fall experience. Then that curve won't be quite as drastic. But if it's a kind of a wet, rainy, cold sort of early fall, then we drop right off, and we stay that way right through. There's a little bit of a tick up in December, and then it goes back down into January, where we start all over again. And that's relatively kind of the shape of tourism in the county, and it's a very distinct sort of high season, and then two low mid-range seasons that are called shoulder seasons. And what we like to do is, of course, that high season, we have a lot of people in the county, a lot of visitors. The county has grown, so who might have been visitors 5 years ago might be county residents now, and partaking in the type of things that we have to offer. With the push on local, of course, our neighboring communities come to the county. It's easy to do. We talked about the trends globally and nationally about, maybe not going far away from home, sticking close to home, and doing things longer. we thought this would be a great opportunity to try and level out and bring that shoulder season drop up a little bit and help our destinations and our providers and our businesses and our organizations, nonprofit organizations, with events that happen at that time and all that sort of thing. So the best way to go about that, what are some of the things that we can do? So we thought that might be an opportunity to assist us with that. The next thing would be, actually, if you can go to the brand relaunch, Brandon, we'll keep education. Yeah, brand relaunch. So the shoulder season is kind of the immediate, what we would look to try to do for the upcoming shoulder season, which will be around the end of October, beginning of November. What we could do in time to affect that. That's the immediate. The mid-range task that we have, which would take us into next year, is kind of a brand relaunch. Once we feel comfortable that we've fully got both legs firmly underneath us in recovery from the pandemic, and we kind of have an idea of where things are going, is to, relaunch Good Times in Brant, reposition Love Local Brant, how that might work effectively. And what are some events we could do, such as the Brant Celebrates event that we talked about to launch that. Maybe the app that Donna talked about would be a way to get that going. And what about the management piece in the brand relaunch? We really got to be careful. We as soon as it was clear that there were no Good Times in Brant, let alone anywhere else, because of the pandemic, we pulled that brand off the shelf. And when we put it back on the shelf and we relaunch it, we do want to be sure that it's, Good Times in Brant, that it is representative of the community. So what's the best way to go about that? So that's our kind of our medium range, what we could work on effectively now and through the year to get ready for that. And perhaps this time next year, look to do a rebrand on that. And then the last piece, Brandon, if you would go back one, talks about education. And this is a little bit longer horizon, but the education of the community, of us, of visitors, of the industry. What role do we have, and what are some of the things that we can do to help us position our area as destination management and marketing, not just the marketing piece. So providing industry expertise to the County of Brant. Who could we go and get and maybe have a session with them, or sessions that we could attend virtually or in person if it makes sense? What are some of those things that we could do and we could learn and become better practice, the best practices, following the best practices of the industry moving forward? Do we offer seminars? Is that an area that we could get in for our operators, for our local community? Do we offer seminars and sharing that information, sharing that educational engagement? And insight to how tourism has been impacted over the last 2.5 years. There's a lot of lessons, and a lot of hurt. There's no minimizing. I don't want to minimize that at all. But there's a lot of powerful and valuable lessons that we've learned. And, some agenda items that actually got expedited out of necessity over the last couple of years, and things that we want to try and replicate and repeat, and some things we don't want to go back to. So taking a wholesome look at that as a group, we found might be an effective way for us to move forward. Madam Chair.
Sorry, Russ, just to interrupt you. Councillor House has a question. I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't see the screen, Brandon. You'll have to remove the presentation. Councillor House, Madam Chair, that is our presentation.
Thank you very much. It was well done, and a lot of work by everybody that was involved. Thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and thank you, Russ. And I didn't mean to curtail the end of your presentation, and hopefully you were wrapped up. I did want to give you a chance to catch your breath, and I want to go back a couple steps to the current projects in play presentation. I did have some questions, and there may be some others who might have questions about that and comments. My first comment is like just a huge acknowledgement of appreciation for what your team has accomplished during 2 very challenging years. You guys have done a fantastic job, and in particular, I want to shine a spotlight on all of those guides. They were so well done, so valuable to all the businesses and entities that were involved, and a real source of pride for our county to see such well prepared documents. And if anybody from this committee didn't receive them in the mail or hasn't seen them, stop into the county office downtown. There's a rack right against the window that has most, if not all of them. They're so well done. So kudos to your entire team on that. You're very welcome. And yeah, and we've absorbed a lot of information today, and that's a lot of, you're catching up for 2 years of not being able to really share, so thank you for such a fulsome presentation. I did have a couple of questions that I was jotting down along the way. When I believe, and this is just purely my opinion, but it somewhat aligns with some of what you were saying, instead of where we were 3 years ago, trying to stimulate demand for people to come to our municipality, I think we're still in the mode of trying to manage the demand for people to come to our municipality. And one of the areas that jumps out to me, and that I mentioned this at a council meeting one time, you talked about the bicycle side of things. And I was happy to see the bicycle symbol on the bottom of one of your deck slides. And even before the Grand River Loop existed, I've observed times when 20 or 30 bicycles arrive in downtown Paris at the same time. And I'm fully confident that when we do the downtown master plan, we're going to have opportunities to try to manage that from a community-minded perspective. In the meantime, I continue to have some healthy reservations about just how we can handle that kind of popularity. If like when I had an apartment downtown 30 years ago, I remember seeing 30 bicycles at a time show up at Cafe Europa. And that was before we became Instagram popular. And so my first specific question out of 3 or 4 that I have for you is can you tell our group a little bit more about what steps, if any, are being taken to try to accommodate or direct a group of bicyclists in terms of parking?
I'm not on mute. Okay. Madam Chair, through you to Councillor Howes. Thank you very much for your comments on behalf of the entire team. Yes, regarding cycling. So in the steps specific to your question for the parking, we have a number of maps that need to be updated, but that indicate and show parking facilities for parking cars throughout, in particular, downtown Paris and in some areas of the county of Brant. We'll be looking and are working on identifying those areas that are conducive, such as in the building I'm in now. There's a rack for Wincy Mills here. There's a small rack over across the way that I'm looking at now in Arlington, a rack there. And part of the Ontario by Bike accreditation is that they provide racking for cycling. So we are in trying to get businesses to get that accreditation. Part of that is the racking for cyclists and proper cycle parking. And so that's something that we're actively engaged in, that we're talking with the OBB, Ontario by Bike, to get the best practices and how best to go about it, to make sure that we have that across the county, but certainly in those high density, those pinch point areas throughout the county. And also speaking with Parks and Facilities and our roads division and what can be done what we can do to work towards that. And looking at programming and any possible funding that might help us to acquire those expeditiously is all part and parcel of our attempt to make sure that we're doing this responsibly as possible. And part of that is where a place to, as you quite rightly identify, where to put your bike, not necessarily against a building, certainly not laying down, in the parking lot where it can be damaged or cause mishaps. What I can also say in discussions that I've had with other municipalities and organizations that are involved in cycling and the uptick in cycling, they're coming, they're here, you see it. So what we also have to do is make sure that we provide access to the information as easily and as kind of vehemently as possible, that they can just identify what available parking we have. Don't keep it hidden. Like, make sure they know about it, and make sure that they know about all the other great areas of the county of Brant, so that we can move them away and entice them away from those pinch points in the county. So that's another approach that we're taking right now when it comes to that, the parking and the cycling congregate that happens. I can also say that the market that we're driving our cycling efforts towards are more the ones that use, pretty substantial dollars have been put into these bikes. They're not likely to lean them against a building or leave them unattended somewhere for someone to trip over or go missing. These are, cycling, the equipment's in the thousands to tens of thousands of dollars on these bikes. So making sure that we have what we need for your everyday and your local and community cyclists, but also the market that we're going after. They tend to, when they're not on their bike is roped, chained to their vehicle. It doesn't go anywhere, and it's usually inside a vehicle or a hauling mechanism. So there's a number of moving parts in the cycling piece, but the parking we have identified, Councillor, as an area that we definitely got to be engaged in right off the hop.
Great, thank you. I'm happy to see that continue on your radar. We know, because we've all seen it, 5 or 6 bikes, whether they're $2,000 bikes or $300 bikes, 5 or 6 bikes parked in front of the dog-eared cafe will kill an accessible route on that sidewalk. And I think we will be glad later if we take preemptive steps to try and pick up another extra 30 or so bike parking spots somewhere downtown. My second question is, and I was really happy to see Kayla's comments about street, the street socials. What a great idea. Love it. Because I will be asked, specific to the Paris one, will that block of downtown be closed to traffic? And will it be turned into a pedestrian mall during that street social?
Through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor Howes regarding the street socials. We are in full contact with all of the business associations of the 3 commercial downtowns that are participating. So in this particular question, Downtown Paris, BIA, we have spoken to them. Our preference would be to perhaps not close it, to be able to have the event happen in an area that doesn't require it to be closed. But if it is something that needs to be done, that will follow the special event advisory team process and have it done. It's meant to stimulate the downtown businesses and the sense of localhood in the downtown here. If it's more conducive to engage in the closure, maybe it's not Grand River Street, maybe it's one of the other streets that encompass the downtown area, then that might be the way that we go. But we're really taking our cue and really keeping engaged with the BIA on this.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. And I think pre-pandemic, when the BIA had different management people involved, I think we had initiated some early discussions on occasionally testing the closure of that block downtown for these types of purposes, just to see to see whether it was a great thing or a terrible thing, but testing that out. So I'll be interested to see how that evolves. Next quick question. Last year we had patios. We had a patio program that allowed places like the Paris Pub to take a couple parking spots to allow for some street front patio structures. Will that continue this summer?
Absolutely. The temporary patio allowance is little less temporary in the sense that it is a program that's ongoing, that is allowed, that runs through the interdivisional committee to make sure that it is allowed and is wanted. The BIA is included in that. I believe the Paris Pub has an application in. Brandon, you might be able to confirm that. But I do believe that the Paris Pub has their application in again for their patio to be extended as well.
Okay. Thanks. And I don't need any specific details on specific businesses, just the general. Just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. Last question, I promise. 2 or 3 weeks ago, Paris was featured prominently in the Wheels section of the Toronto Star newspaper on a Saturday or a Sunday. And I just wanted to ask, because someone did ask me, did we have to pay to participate in that, or was it purely an editorial choice by the newspaper?
It's a great question. Councillor House, through you, Madam Chair. We don't pay for those yet. We can do what's known as familiarization tours or fam tours with bloggers and pieces like that, but we don't. Right now, we've not actively engaged in that in the last 24 months plus. So no, specific to this one, we did not. And like the one in the Globe and Mail on the culinary piece, that wasn't something that we would have, Donna, correct me if I'm wrong, but that we would have purchased.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate all of the information today.
Patrick, you have a question?
Yes, thanks, Madam Chair. Thanks very much for the presentation, Russ, and to your staff. Yes, I'll echo a lot of great work. If I look a little older than the last time we saw each other, I've probably aged 4 years in the last 2. So please forgive the extra wrinkles. Russ, I wanted to ask questions about integrating tourism with some of the other Brant County plans. And there's 2 in particular. As you know, climate change is a really big issue globally, all the way to local. Lots of major initiatives. Some will argue that tourism is a contributor to the problems of climate change. And the more we attract people to drive here, buses to come here. So as part of the new official plan, which I understand is a bit held up by the province, there's a how do we green section. So food for thought, how does the tourism activity align with climate change and any environmental? Then there's another plan that the county approved recently called the age-friendly community. And I think that was last fall that it was approved. So I know your focus is on the millennials and Generation X in terms of the people who might come, but if you look at the streets, there are a lot of seniors that visit. I can only speak to Paris. I'm not sure about Burford and St. George, but there's a lot of seniors who come, probably more during the week than on the weekends. So it's just, again, food for thought. How does your tourism activity align with some of the principles laid out in either the How Do We Green part of the OP or the age-friendly communities? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot to answer now, but just kind of food for thought so that there is no sort of negativity around tourism being at odds with some other activities.
Through you, Madam Chair, to Member Draper, 2 fantastic questions, if I may say, Patrick. And that goes directly, both of those questions go directly to my last section that I spoke to of opportunities, thinking medium and long range, the educational piece, how we can move best into a management approach, not just the marketing approach for tourism in the county of Brant. So, just holistically at a general level, both the environmental piece as well as the age-friendly community, our main assets rely on a healthy climate, right? The river, agriculture, our main assets. They rely on that staying healthy. So what can we do? And the food for thought is, yes, like, let's have that thought. Let's have that discussion. What can we do? What are some of the best practices that we learned of? I looked at a report, a summary of a report, I think it was, about the effect of no one driving early on in the pandemic, and what effect that had on climates, and in particular tourism hotspots of Venice and Copenhagen and those types of places, how the air quality went up. And so how do we affect that approach to try and keep as much of that? Well, the reality is, to get somebody to come here, they got to get here somehow. So there's a number of studies and a number of opportunities to be able to engage with those that are asking these questions and coming up with answers. And that's really where we need to be. We need to be at having those discussions and having a look at some of those best practices. Speaking directly to your question of like the climate change piece, having 50 people coming, so it might be 25 cars of 2 people coming. Is it maybe better to put more of an emphasis on the group tour business? Yes, it's a bus, but it's one bus, and it's not coming every day, and it's one bus carrying 53 people or 50 people. And is that impactful? We just don't know yet. We just don't have that level of sophisticated knowledge yet, but we need to go out and get it. But it is something that we do want to think about, and we do need to think about. And I would ask for engagement from this group and going about the learning of that. On the age-friendly community, I think it was brought up a little bit earlier. The piece that I talked about the millennial and Generation X, those are the large, kind of the growing market segments moving forward. But the high yield market does live with that older market right now, and that is an area that we will have challenges because our communities are older, and some of our higher destination areas in Paris and at the river and what have you are a little bit more difficult for people to access. And what are some of the things that we can do in just providing the information regarding age friendly? But what are some of those things we can do? Making sure that it's readable, making sure it's accessible easier if it's through an electronic device, making sure that those collateral pieces are being provided in areas where the older people gather and they can get access to those. So there's a whole range of things, but again, this would be tabled along with the climate impact and the environmental impact as what can we do? What are some of the low-hanging fruit that we can do, and what are some of the things that we need to do moving forward? So it is on our agenda for sure.
So just through you, Madam Chair, just a quick comment to your suggestions, Russell. If part of the tourism target market was owners of electric vehicles, and that there were charging stations, in a variety of locations, it becomes a win-win kind of situation. And you mentioned the efficiency of buses in transit. There's a huge move to electric buses. They are being ordered by the hundreds right now, and they are developing long-range capabilities. If you've ever ridden on an electric bus, they're phenomenal. They are quiet, they are clean, and they're also pretty cost-effective from a maintenance standpoint. So maybe some group tour operators could be encouraged to get into electric buses, which again would be a positive image for the county, as well as meeting some climate. So there's some small things that can be done for sure.
Joan, you had a question as well.
Yes, thank you. In a different committee that's more focused on environment, I had seen a really great suggestion that I don't know how to bring it to the county, so I'll just bring it here, that the county establish a sustainability committee, advisory committee that has that as their primary focus, is making the county sustainable. And because I find, just like with this meeting, that it becomes tacked on at the end, saying like, how can we make all these things sustainable? When in fact, if the county has, along with many other municipalities, declared a climate emergency, then if it's an emergency, it needs to not be tacked on at the end. It needs to be a priority. And I feel similarly, my own personal 2 cents about the accessibility, disability, addressing age-friendly matters. Those shouldn't be tacked on at the end. And I just, so related to that, just trying to be brief, how strict is the Disability Act time? I think it's supposed to be everything is compliant in 2024. How strict is that and going to be enforced? I don't know the answer to that.
Madam Chair, that would fall into likely bylaw as well as our accessibility staff, transit and accessibility accommodation staff. I'm more than happy to ask if we can get more precise or more deliberate answers on those 2 questions from that division for what we have available to provide. I don't know. I believe 2025 was the AODA deadline, and I'm not sure on your second question. I don't know, but I can find out.
Okay, thank you very much. I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask. When they were talking about adding bike stations or places to park the bikes, is there a specific drop-off zone for the buses when they come to town?
Madam Chair, good question. There is one that we ask that they drop off at Wincy Mills here. That's I'm pointing to it, but it's really quite easy. They turn in on what would that be? That would be the west side of the building, and go around the back, and then drop off the passengers and the visitors, and they are then able to come into the visitor kiosk and ask any questions, meet the visitor ambassador, of course, take a look at any of the available shops, use the restrooms, and then depending on where their destination is, they may, if they're, for example, going to St. George and doing something in St. George, they wouldn't stop here. But if they contact us ahead of time and contact Donna, and our publications do ask for them to reach out to us, then we'll have staff meet them there, and if available, and greet them and let them know where things are and that sort of thing. But the designated area, by and large, is where our visitor kiosk is here at Wincy.
Okay, I know
and then the buses, and then the buses park. Generally, they'll go up to the Brand Sports Complex and park up there, or if there's available parking in Sill Apps, they may go there as well.
Okay, and they would be notified. I know Sill Apps is going to be their parking area is being paved, so you would notify them that would not be a suitable spot during those times, right?
Yes, we generally, Donna will ask, where do you like to park, and ask them where they would like to park, and then we'll just confirm ahead of time that's going to be available on that day, and let them know. And if we already know it's not, then we'll work with them to find a more suitable place.
Okay. My other question is, I know the washrooms are soon to be open downtown, but I wondered if you have a timeline for that. They've cleaned up a lot of the construction stuff, but the fencing is still there. And just from my experience at Lions Park a week ago, which was before May 1st, and it was that beautiful, beautiful Sunday, and the washrooms were not open, and the park was packed, and people were having to relieve themselves everywhere. And I did call about that, and they said, well, you know, the park really don't open the washrooms till after the 1st. And so that brings me to a question: are these new washrooms going to be open 12 months of the year?
Madam Chair, I'm not 100% sure on your question of when they'll open and how long they will be open. I'm not sure if I'm not sure if Councillor Howes or His Worship would be aware,
Mayor,
but I will certainly get that information to you
Okay.
if we don't have it.
Mayor Bailey put his hand up, so I think he might have a response.
Yeah, the washers will be open as soon as they can be. Obviously, we're having a lot of problems right now with people not having washrooms, of course, and hearing now that there's washrooms and getting there and hearing that they're not quite washrooms yet. So really, we're having a lot of trouble right now. They're going to be open as soon as possible, and we're going to see how it goes. And hopefully they can be open all year round. I know we're going to try to keep them open as long as we can in the day. Obviously, we can't have them open all night, but we can have them open until, I don't know, 9, 10, something. And I just shut those off. There's no study between the time that we're going to close them. But right now, people have heard that there's downtown washrooms, so they come with the anticipation of finding one, and they're getting twice as upset because they're not finished yet. So they will be open as soon as possible. And the other thing I wanted to say too, while we're talking, is I didn't say anything because everyone has covered everything so clearly. But Russ, thank you for everything you've done, and Brandon and everybody on your team. During COVID, the last couple of years, we've made leaps and bounds in everything we've talked about today. We haven't missed a beat. We've done everything we needed to do. And Steve and I spent a couple of days in Toronto at a conference, Good Roads Conference. And Steve and I both have some great ideas on different ways we can manage the downtown of Paris. We both got very excited about seeing different models of different cities that are very much like towns that are very much like Paris, that work if you approach things properly. And we found through discussions, or I found through discussions at the conference, that people get more interested in parties they don't get invited to than being told what's going to happen in front of their store. So I think that we need to do things where people want us. And when I say that, I'm talking about different streets of downtown. If there's people on William Street that really like the idea of doing something, then let's just do William Street and see how that works out, and let people see that they've missed something instead of they've been strong-armed into being part of something, and then do Mechanic Street and all the other streets. So we've learned a lot since we've been closed down. But the main thing that we've learned as a community and as a people is that the COVID has brought out the very best in people and the very worst in people. People are still very, very wound very, very tight, and they're very sort of, a lot of them are very mean-spirited right now. And for every person that thinks a bike is a good idea, there's 4 that think they're in the way, and they don't feel safe driving downtown because they don't see the lanes. They don't understand why they have to be here when they can go out on a side road. There's still a mindset of all these things that we think are wonderful and are coming. There's still 2 people for every 1 person that doesn't want it. So we have to move forward progressively, but carefully. You know, like I think in St. George, we have a place where all these, we just proved it last weekend with all these bikes that came through, all these from Ancaster for the tour. And we have a place up at the arena where they can lay on the grass, and there's washrooms there, and they can sit. So I think we need to, in Paris, we really do have to make this place where the bikes land a very obvious, and we want them there. We have to welcome them. And we're just going to have to sort of turn off the bad noise right now, because there's bad noise for every good idea right now. And I hate to say that out loud, but it's true. People have not liked things going well. Well, they're not happy, and while they're losing things and they're losing their businesses and maybe having struggles financially at home, they don't like to see as much good news as you think they want to see, which makes it really very rough for a smiley mayor, I'll tell you. But they just, there's people that are really, really affected by COVID, and they're not comfortable still coming out. And we really do have to be very careful how we deal with these people. And maybe some of you are those people that are just not quite comfortable with coming back out yet. And we have to be very aware. It could be the very best plan we ever thought of, but we also have to be aware that not everyone ever will think it's the best thing we ever thought of. So I hope I made myself clear, because it's very hard to deal with people that don't want to know anything but what they believe.
Thank you for your comment. Jennifer.
Here, I just wanted to say how lovely it is to see everybody. Thank you for the updates, but I do have to leave the meeting, so I didn't want to just disappear. So I am look forward to seeing everybody again soon. So thank you all. Bye-bye.
Jennifer.
Madam Chair, Briar, I do believe there's things that will require quorum. So before,
okay,
just bring that up.
Thank you, Russ. Through you, Madam Chair. So if we can just get an approval of the agenda, firstly. So I'll need a motion for that. So I need a mover, Lisa.
Yes. Okay.
And seconder.
Steve had his hand up.
Thank you. Okay, and then we also have the adoptions of the minutes from the previous meeting. So if I can get a motion to approve those as well.
Mayor Bailey and Joan.
Thank you. And then I believe that's all our motions. Okay.
Okay.
That's it for me.
All right. Do you have the communication from Laura? Her letter?
I do have that, but with the approval of the agenda, we can accept it through there.
Okay. All right. And it's not because she didn't want to be part of the group. She's moved away out of the county. So, okay, in case anybody else didn't know that. All right. Any other business that needs to be discussed today?
Just a small point, if I could,
Go ahead.
Madam Chair. I noticed on the agenda that there's another, the next meeting is June 2nd. I would ask if staff or the clerk could publish the meeting dates for the balance of the year. I recognize that this, I guess our term comes to an end when council ends. So I'm not sure how many more meetings we have, whether you skip some summer dates or not, but if you could just give us some advance heads up on the future meetings for the balance of the year, that would be appreciated.
That's through you, Madam Chair, absolutely.
Okay. Typically, it's the first Thursday of the month, and we've only met in the summer as required. But because we haven't met, I'm not sure if that's going to change. I guess that's going to be up to the group if they want to do that, or if there's a need. Correct, Russ?
Sorry about that. Yes, Madam Chair. And with the virtual component, it does perhaps lend to meeting. From a staff perspective, we would happy, of course, to take the lead of the will of the committee. At the same time, having said that, there's been a couple of great ideas here that if we wanted to meet, we would certainly welcome that as well.
Okay, but typically, to answer your original question, Patrick, it's typically the first Thursday of the month. Okay, does anybody else have anything that they need to bring up, or is it going to be a wrap up and see everybody in June? We're good?
Through you, Madam Chair, I noticed Don has a question up.
Tom.
Okay.
Tom, sorry.
Oh, yeah, can I have the link to the Zoom meeting tomorrow? Is that coming this way?
Absolutely. Tom, sorry, Madam Chair, through you, Madam Chair.
Yep.
This is for the RTO meeting. Absolutely. We can get that to you.
Okay.
Yep. Got somebody who wants to listen in on it. So that's good.
Okay. Anybody else have anything? No? Then can I have a motion to adjourn? Lisa. And if I need a seconder, it's Tom Pate. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I know it was a long meeting, but it was very informative and we really needed it. So thank you, everybody, for attending today. And hopefully we'll see you in June the 2nd. All right.